Hello boys, this is White Pill Media and welcome back to the channel.
Ladies and gentlemen, I have returned.
I wanted to do a video on Gamergate 2 and my thoughts on it and the so-called culture war. I'm going to be rambling, but from the title, I think the so-called movement is toothless and kind of dickless. Some of the reasons I'm going to get into are that Gamergate 2 is ultimately reactive and not proactive. It's a lot of the reasons why I think Gamergate 1 failed. Gamergate 1 did make people question journalists and be more skeptical and that type of thing, so I think it did have some kind of value, but Gamergate 2 is just extremely reactive. People are already mistrustful of trusted news sources. It's not based on building our own kind of culture and promoting our own stuff, but it's always reacting to what the left does. Like reaction channels on YouTube, it's just some asshole watching a clip or a piece of media and then they go, oh my god, I can't believe that. Reaction videos are very low quality, they're shitty, and the original content that they're reacting to doesn't require the person's reaction. The reactor is ultimately parasitic, and that's what I think a lot of this anti-woke stuff is. It's parasitic. It doesn't really do anything positive. Like the left has a death grip on the whole culture war, and the right seemingly isn't able to break away from this. Why does the white man keep losing? And I'm going to be talking about some solutions that I think could work, but I don't think the anti-woke crowd is exactly interested in looking at these. So I don't typically make these types of videos, as you can see from my channel, but I did have a couple things I wanted to say. I just had some thoughts that were percolating, and this video is going to be a bit disorganized. Sorry about that, but hopefully some of it is kind of coherent, and we're just going to go for it. And I also wanted to say at the start that I hope this doesn't come across as preachy or condescending, which is not the point of this video, or that I'm better than people. I did used to really enjoy videos that were go woke, go broke for comic books, video games, TV shows, movies. I did really like that kind of stuff and just making fun of leftists and their cringe woke crap. It did used to entertain me for a while. It doesn't really anymore. Going woke, it's making things gay, swapping races, and when races are swapped, it's always white into something else. And I haven't changed. It's not like I suddenly like it when these things happen. I still hate those things, but I have grown to dislike those videos and such, because it ultimately doesn't do anything, and I find watching these videos to be a waste of time and just making yourself angrier and upset all the time about things that I don't have any power or control over is fruitless. The phrase you'll often hear is go woke, go broke, and this isn't exactly true. It's the idea that if enough of these video games, movies, comics, whatever fail, that these companies will suddenly have a hard ideological shift to make money. But this wokeness, this DEI, this anti-white narrative is not based on money, it's based on ideology, and it's not going to matter how much these companies lose, because it's not just about making money, which they would like to do as they promote these messages, but it's more about spreading the message than making the money. You have companies like BlackRock, Vanguard, other very large companies with billions of dollars, so they can take a bath on a lot of this stuff continuously. This message being media culture is ultimately too white, too straight, and too male, and this has to be replaced. And white should be gone, removed, done away with. What we currently have is no good, and therefore it has to go. If being white was good, then we need to change what's already here. Therefore, if whites have to go and be replaced, whites are bad. There's never a question if we have an all-black TV show, all-black whatever, that there are too many black people in this thing, and we need to have more whites in it. It's always remove white people, put non-whites in. This is what these companies are promoting. And what we really mean by diversity is we need to get rid of white people. That's what diversity means. It's never about adding white people into a situation where there's a bunch of non-white people. That's not really a thing. And that's their narrative. And it's this very powerful ideology that a lot of them subscribe to and believe vehemently. Well, I think the kind of anti-woke narrative on YouTube is, I don't want to be called racist. It's, I want masculine games with big tits and guns and such. Just give us these kinds of games back and we won't mind gay, anti-white, subversive stuff. Just give us a little something and we'll all calm down. Or you could even include all of those things, but do it well. This doesn't work, and even if you have a game that's like more masculine and has like beautiful women in it, it doesn't actually fight this ideology, really. The woke, DEI, diversity crowd has a very strong identity and movement. It has an ultimate goal of less white people is good, right? That's the ultimate goal that they are pursuing. While our anti-woke crowd is wanting non-woke gays or non-woke, non-whites, and I just don't want to be called a racist, is a horrible idea. It doesn't lead us anywhere positive. It's like saying, so illegal migrants are bad for many, many reasons, but if we were to flood the country with people who came here legally, now that this is magically good, right? They're not doing it illegally, but it's now legal. So if we just have all this stuff, but it's not quote unquote woke, then it's good? No. We need something that opposes them and that ideology. Like, they have this raging inferno that is them. It's almost religious in a way. And this kind of Gamergate 2, we just want to play games, bro. We want games that are not political. Everything is kind of political. I don't mean that everything has like a political slogan to it, but everything kind of reinforces a worldview. For example, putting the grocery carts back at your local grocery store. That does enforce a worldview. By doing this, you want a high trust, ordered society. By having grocery carts not put back, it's disordered, it's lower trust. A nice white family, to a leftist or a communist, they would look at that and nuclear family, patriarchy, white supremacy, etc. So just by the act of something existing, it presents a worldview, right? And the whole Gamergate 2 anti-woke thing is a water gun to this raging inferno that they have. There's this constant need to prove that they're not on the bad side of things, that they're not racist, not sexist, not homophobic. You just want good games. You want to avoid being called these bad words. It's a reactionary movement that relies on whatever slop media companies provide. Making leftists mad is also not a strategy. It was a while ago, but that Hogwarts Legacy game came out. It sucked. I watched a friend play it for a little bit. The game is set, I believe, in the 1800s, and Hogwarts was just full of like a shit ton of non-whites. I think there were also like a good amount of like gay characters as well. And you had people like rallying around Hogwarts Legacy because it was making like Troons upset because J.K. Rowling, who is very much a leftist, she just doesn't like trannies. Now suddenly she's this right-wing icon, which is very stupid and very gay. In the original books, there's like plenty of like leftist subversive stuff. I mean, like, who are like the Death Eaters and Voldemort and that? They want like a racially pure society. They really want like self-association, and they want like the Wizarding world to remain their own thing, and maybe Muggleborns go out their school somewhere else. But you know what I mean? It's just play up to a ridiculous degree where anyone that would want freedom of association or their own things have to be these like murderous monsters. It can't just be like, hey, purebloods created Hogwarts, therefore Hogwarts is going to be a pureblood school. If Muggleborns want to have their own school, they can go build their own school. Plenty of things in like the Harry Potter books were like, they're not based. Harry, he dates that one Asian girl, and I think Jenny Weasley, like Ron's sister that Harry dates and marries. I think her first boyfriend at Hogwarts is Dean Thomas, one of like the few blacks at the school. So there you go, a white redheaded girl. Go figure. And then I think at the end of the book series, it's one of the Aurors. I think it's the Black Auror. I think his name's Shacklebolt. He becomes like the prime minister of the Wizarding world. So it's like, it's there, right? The stuff is there. Like, we can't just champion these books just because it pisses off leftists. There's also plenty of games that are promoted by anti-woke people that are plenty woke. Like, they seemingly look good on the surface, but they have some messages underneath that are more hidden and subversive. Like, for example, BioShock and The Last of Us. And you can go check out American Krogan's vids on Odyssey on BioShock. They're really in-depth. They're very good. I'll have a link to that below. I do really miss American Krogan. But speaking about The Last of Us, a lot of these types of channels and people find it very easy to criticize The Last of Us 2, and they're correct, but there's not too much criticism about The Last of Us. What is The Last of Us about? You play as Joel. You're a white man. You're protecting this surrogate daughter in the post-apocalypse. It's about your journey with her. You're just protecting your cute surrogate daughter. It's touching, and you grow to care for Ellie, and you want to protect her, right? That's the natural reaction. You want to protect her. You become emotionally invested in her. And a lot of people would say that the game is really about that bond. But the real message comes with the DLC, where it turns out that Ellie is supposed to be a lesbian in an interracial relationship. Typically, white male gamers would be turned off by this and object to it, / care less for Ellie if this was presented from the outset. But by putting this in the DLC after you've become emotionally invested in protecting Ellie and looking out for her, you just spend a whole game looking out for her. She is now a Trojan horse to present leftist subversive ideals on a traditional family. I think that's why it was saved for the DLC, because it makes you swallow what you would normally spit out. Well, I think the second game is very mask off, with Ellie in an interracial relationship with a Jewish woman, and that Jewish woman has given birth to a half Asian, half Jewish baby that has no ties to Ellie or to Joel. Joel acts as our stand-in in this game, and this is his new American family in the post-apocalypse. Your lesbian daughter, your Jewish daughter-in-law, and then the half Jewish, half Asian baby that has no ties to Ellie or ties to you. Isn't this the new wonderful family? And plenty of people rightfully attack this game for Abby. There were a lot of memes about that and how ugly Abby was and the uglyification of women. Sure, that's true, and I get that. But there's not too much criticism about Game 1 and the politics that are packed into there. And no, you can't just ignore the DLC. That's Death of the Author. It's kind of like Harry Potter in a way, where it's praised for being like non-woke, non-political, but it was. Like, there's definitely political messages in there, or it's a worldview that we don't really agree with, but it's being placed in there. Some other games that are hyped up for being anti-woke: Witcher 3, that's a good example. The books, I read all of them. They were all very bad. They're really shitty books. But also, they're very leftist. They're very subversive. But Witcher 3, it looks pretty. It had good-looking women, sex appeal. But something that happens in the books, which is referenced in the game, but I don't think it goes into too much detail, is, okay, let me present you with a little scenario here. If we had a young boy and they were raped, molested by an older boy, and then that young boy started identifying as gay and was in a relationship with that person who molested, raped them, would you find that disgusting? Would you object to that? Did that make you uncomfortable at all? Because it really should make you extremely uncomfortable, and it's disgusting. That happens to Ciri in the books. When she's a young girl, an older girl does that to her, and then she's in a relationship with that girl for a while, and no one ever calls out this relationship as being wrong or abusive or anything but good. I also think that the author wrote that happening to Ciri because he really did like fetishize lesbians in his books. Like there's a lot of references to lesbian characters just in the background. It's like very pornographic. It's very clear that this is what he enjoys. So he had Ciri, this young girl, get raped because he enjoyed it. So it's even worse when you really think about it. Another point against the Witcher books, it's just like taking European folklore and just corrupting it, making it ugly. And also in like The Witcher 3, there's plenty like gays and other shit like that. And in the books, like the ending is like Geralt gets like stabbed by a farmer because there are some riots. And these riots were caused by like humans who wanted like non-humans out of their city because, oh no, God forbid. So some riots happen over that shit. So it's a little like, yeah, there's a lot of that crap. But in Witcher 3, you play as a masculine guy going around killing monsters, and there's like some tits and all that. So it just kind of all gets glossed over, and it's bullshit. Stellar Blade, I did not play this game. I thought it looked not great. I know there was some anger and controversy over like censorship and making like outfits less sexy. Frankly, I didn't think okay-ish looking game with a lot of sex appeal was our bastion to die on. I'm not against sex appeal or anything like that. I think beauty is good, but all this controversy over like, oh no, you can't see like her vagina in like 8K now or whatever. It's a little like, yeah, okay, dude. For some of these games, I think we just kind of accept or move past when there's like stuff we don't agree with just because we agree with like the majority of it, which is okay, but that's not great because I think like it just means like there's this level of tolerance. Like I am willing to accept stuff I strongly dislike and goes against my worldview because X, Y, or Z. And then we just accept a little more, accept a little more, accept a little more until we kind of get to that breaking point. But going back to like sex appeal, like yeah, I agree. There's definitely this push to make women uglier in games. And I think we should have beautiful women and we should praise beauty, but that doesn't mean we should promote like pornography. I remember as a boy, a young man, playing Arkham City. There was Catwoman, and if you played as Catwoman, you could like run and then slide, and then when you did that and you're like tilted back up towards the camera, you could kind of see some cleavage. I was pretty young at the time, and that was like insane to me. I'm like, oh, holy shit, that's amazing. And it was just like more innocent, you know, it was a lot more innocent. And I also remember going to Blockbuster as a kid, and I saw this one box art for this game that really appealed to me. This game was called Blood Rain. It had like this vampire chick, she's like showing some cleavage, there's a little blood, and like, whoa. Something about it just always drew me to it, and I was always like terrified my mom would like see me staring at it because she would be off like looking at movies, and I would just circle around like, ooh, this game, that game, but I would always come back to Blood Rain. Maybe I should play it now. I never played it as a kid. I don't know. But yeah, I could never like bring it up to her because it was rated M, and what drew me to it would make her say absolutely no. Being almost able to see kind of cleavage was like a huge deal. But with kids nowadays, it's just, hey, you have unfiltered internet access. You're really going to fuck yourself up. And no, parents don't really give a shit. I guess that doesn't really have much to do with the video, but I don't know. Yeah, some sex appeal good, pornography not good. Other things I've thought about is that, yeah, ultimately, I think the anti-woke crowd is more non-confrontational. There's this desire to be middle of the road, Mr. Reasonable. I'm not really bad guy. We just want good games. And if we compared the culture war to like a real-time strategy game, you have the left who have this very strong ideology pushing them forward. They are going around the map. They are building bases. They're collecting resources, while the other side wants to avoid conflict, wants to avoid being called racist or whatever. So this group is huddling at their one base, and they're building up fortifications, sure, but we're ultimately waiting for the inevitable because the left is dominating the map unopposed. Eventually, they're going to come for you and take you out, because if you ever played a real-time strategy game, if you just turtle up at one little base, you're going to lose. Like, period. You can never win. And the left's not just going to leave you alone. There's not going to be a stone unturned for them. You are going to be hunted down eventually. Did that make any sense? Was that like a really dumb comparison?
Hey, I tell you what. You can take a good look at a butcher's ass by sticking your head up there. But wouldn't you rather take his word for it? What?
Oh, another thing I want to bring up was that like a new Assassin's Creed game where you're in Japan and there's Yasuke, who is like a black samurai, which is not based on any type of real history or whatever. And everyone was extremely upset and out there, and they were rushing to defend the honor of Japan and oppose this wokeness and this alt history. To me, it felt kind of cringe. Like when boomers rushed to defend Israel and having strong borders for Israel, right? It is a very hard stance to protect these countries and people who are not our own. And a question I want to ask, like, let's say the Assassin's Creed company, I think it's Ubisoft, let's say they decided to change it and Yasuke was no longer the lead in the game and they just made a Japanese guy the lead. What's the win there? Like, if they changed it, are we then all buying a copy of Assassin's Creed? Or whoever makes it is still this extremely leftist company, so what now? There's probably like other stuff in the Assassin's Creed games that I wouldn't like. Another thing is I do just want like game series to just end. Like, for the love of God, like no more Halo, no more Star Wars, no more whatever. Even if it's good, even if they like have 5 Halo games in a row and they're all going to be amazing, I don't fucking want them. Just new stuff. Please. Like, there's a point when franchises just get played out. You've told all the good stories to tell. You had a good run. That's it. Let people enjoy it, and then they can come back to it when they want to, but make new stuff, right? Just make new stuff. You can't just keep sucking the life out of these old franchises. So that's kind of an issue as well if we just keep going back to older media and never creating or promoting anything new, then you eventually hit the point where you just run out of stuff. AntiWoke is a fairly safe thing to be on YouTube. I don't think it's really considered a threat because it firmly keeps all discussion and attention on their culture, their products, and still engagement. Like, hate watching is still watching if you have a Disney Plus subscription but you hate everything that Disney comes out with. It doesn't fucking matter. They got your money, right? And even if you don't pay for subscriptions, you're watching just videos where they like hate and tear apart these types of shows or movies, you're still engaging with it. It's still putting a spotlight on this stuff. And yeah, I know not all attention is good attention, but it's still sucking the life and energy out of anything else that could like take that thing's place, right? Like people like that Critical Drinker guy, Nerdrotic, Geeks Gamer, whoever. There's an endless list of these people. They're allowed to be on the platform. They're even promoted by YouTube. Why? Because it's toothless criticism. These people will never stop consuming this crap. They will always dance to whatever the enemy is creating. And it's not interesting or compelling criticism. It's, hey, did you know that X is woke now? And then they might lazily read you some tweets or an article, wrap it up in 10, 12 minutes, and then promote some Patreon or whatever at the end. It fucking sucks. Someone like American Krogan, who does a bit more of a deep dive and does a really good job breaking down things like BioShock. He lost his YouTube channel. I kind of hate a lot of the anti-woke people. Like that Grums guy, I don't like that fucking guy. I don't trust that fucking guy. He technically has a game that's in development. I think there's maybe a beta or a demo for it. It's called like M-er or M8 or whatever. That game is never fucking coming out. If that game is ever like fully released and functional, I will buy a hat and I will eat it. But in my opinion, this game's never fucking coming out. I think it's been in development for like 8 years or some shit. It is never fucking coming out. It's very gay. That is a fucking grift. And if you know anything about Comicsgate, that's another really gay gate movement. Comicsgate, it's even worse. It's people spending a ridiculous amount of money on a fucking comic, and you're lucky if you'll get it delivered in like 3 fucking years, and it's only like 40 pages, if that. It's retarded. That's also another grift thing. You can dive into Comicsgate if you want, if you go on Kiwi Farms, but holy shit, there's so much to get through. Fucking crazy. It's completely soured me on so many of these people. Another thing with that Grums guy, maybe this is me being petty, I hate his fucking profile pic. You know when leftists make like a really cutesy profile pic and they look like fucking troon demons? That's what I think of Grums, which like, here's my cute profile pic. I know you're fucking ugly. And another thing is just like the false glory that a lot of these people promote. Like if a company loses money on like whatever product, TV show, game, movie, they act like this is a personal victory for them, like they personally accomplished something. We're not even on the field competing against these guys. We're sitting on the sidelines complaining about it. I don't know if you guys knew this, but Kathleen Kennedy is about to be fired, really, truly, 2 more weeks. This shit gets old, man. Some companies are losing money. That's true. But their ideology is not going to change. Like, at best, it's going to be something like Ratchet Theory. Ratchet Theory being you twist something to the left, like 2 hard pumps, and then the right wing or the anti-woke crowd, whatever, they show a little outrage on social media. And then Ratchet Theory, you give it a little pump, and the right's like, phew, wow, we did something. We accomplished something. Isn't this great? When in reality, we're still extremely far to the left. We're just slightly, there's a little gimme there. And then when the leftists do it again and they pump it twice more very hard to the left, people act a bit outraged, and then they give it a little pump to the right, and everything just calms down again. And I just hate a lot of the pathetic copes with movies like the Barbie movie. That's not our movie. It's very anti-us, the movie. But there are a lot of memes of like Ken actually being based, and Ken is cool. This is a pathetic cope. It's death of the author. Yes, we see it that way. Yes, we feel that way. People who watched the movie and the people who made the movie don't feel that way. So it doesn't fucking matter what we think or what memes we make about it. It's just kind of this lame attempt at participation because we're really left out of the equation. Same with Fury Road, which is a movie I didn't like. It's like, oh, the women, they had this green place and then they destroyed like their feminist paradise. Isn't that a commentary on feminism? It's not. While we see it that way, the director doesn't see it that way. The people who like the film don't see it that way. It's just not true. It's funny. I enjoy like laughing about it, but it's just not there, and we want it to be there. Something you'll also hear a lot is just play classic games, dude, or just read the classics. And I don't think this is great advice. You can't do this infinitely, and there's also an argument to be made against stuck culture. And I think the left is somewhat correct when they accuse the right wing of supporting a dead culture, museums full of dead white men. Is that somewhat true? I think there can be too much reverence for the past. Like, imagine you're in ancient Greece and they just decided one day that they're at their cultural peak and can never advance past this point. And then you got Homer over there telling people the story of the Odyssey and Odysseus, and people don't care because it doesn't compare to like stories from ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia, right? Because it's like, that's new, dude. We already have peak culture. Fuck off with that Odyssey shit. You can really pick any point in history. How stupid would it be to assume that you're at your cultural peak, you'll never do better? Like, imagine if that happened before like Lovecraft or Howard or Tolkien. And if you ultimately believe in that, then there's nowhere to go. There's no point in creating anything. And I don't believe in that at all. I also think maybe this is why some modern artists do what they do, like increasingly stupid and ugly but quote-unquote unique art. Like, they're afraid of being judged and compared to the greats who came before, and it's kind of daunting. It takes balls to create anything and put it up on the table and have it be judged. But you're being judged in comparison to everything. You're competing against all oil paintings when you make an oil painting, kind of, Postmodern writing is probably also a result of this. Just like, wow, I can't compare to all these great works. I know, I'll do something very gay, like postmodernism. I think the classics should be studied and honored. Like, play classic games, read classic books, but we shouldn't forsake the creators of today just because they weren't born 50 years ago, right? There's something about No, only the past. Only the past is good. The present is always terrible, and the present is bad. The present's really fucking bad. But the idea that we have no creative types working right now is ridiculous and stupid. It's very defeatist. If the so-called culture war exists, then I think we should have a stake in it. We should seek to be proactive rather than just reactive to leftist crap. Imagine two cars on a highway and leftists are the lead car and we're right behind them. The leftists slam on their brakes. We slam on our brakes. Try to get past them. They cut right in front of us and we're always behind them. We have to always do what the lead car is doing. And we need to somehow be in the lead car. That doesn't mean we simply promote something because it shares like politics or worldview that we agree with. So therefore, the whatever is a 10 out of 10 bullshit. But I think it does mean we need to be willing to try it out and be honest with reviews and thoughts. And people really like this term like parallel society, perpendicular society. I think that's true. We need to have our own kind of culture. I don't know if a lot of leftists would start like hate watching or hate reading like right-wing content, but I know that we're losing right now, and just doing the equivalent of reaction videos to the left wing isn't winning us anything. It's not doing anything positive for us. Being I don't want politics in my game, I just want good games. Bullshit. You want a game that promotes your worldview, like a white straight guy with the family. You want beauty, order, that type of thing. Whether you consider that political or not, it is a worldview. So yes, we do want things to be political. Tolerance is death. It's constantly ceding ground. And if you want to be like Mr. Mill the Road tolerant, Mr. Fence Sitter, that's a horrible position to be in. Don't be tolerant. Like people that claim to have beliefs and that their beliefs are correct and worth having, but also unwilling to enforce them. Like, I don't care what homosexuals do behind closed doors. In reality, not Will and Grace or whatever propaganda that is pushed, but a lot of homosexuals were sexually abused as kids, and that's the result. So, no, being gay is not as equal or as good as being straight, which is normal. That's the default. It's nature. Imagine you're in the hospital and you're holding your baby, your wife is there, and it's beautiful. This is the continuation of your family, of you and your wife. It's the union of the both of you. It's the fruit of that union, and it's life itself. Like heterosexuality is life creating, it's family creating, and if we're supposed to value the family unit, then that means pairings that don't create life, literally anti-life, if you will, are not as good or as normal as this. The I don't care what happens behind closed doors is just another way of avoiding conflict. Just don't want trans stuff pushed on kids, and I'm like, okay, but if someone's 18 and they're legally an adult, are we just look the other way for some mentally ill 18-year-olds to get permanent mutilation to their bodies? It's cowardly, right? It's very cowardly. And I'm not the biggest supporter of the homosexual community, you could say. You could watch a documentary that's free on YouTube called The Gift. And my gift to you will not be spoiling what it is. It's kind of enlightening. It's a little sickening. But yeah, it's about HIV. So yeah, I'll have a link to that below. And this video has rambled a bit too long. I know it's not very coherent. These are just kind of thoughts I've been having and feelings. I think, yeah, don't waste your time or energy with media made by people who hate you. You're only hurting yourself in this way. If you do want a change, you have to disengage with this stuff. I know it's hard to look away when like your beloved franchise, when you're a kid, is being destroyed and corrupted, but that's what they want. That's what they're counting on. Harvest Moon, Another Wonderful Life was a game that I played a lot as a kid. It was a lot of fun. You'd run around a little village, you'd grow crops, farm, that type of thing. I really like farming sims. If there was like a good farming sim made by people on this side of things, I'd be really into it. But I remember grabbing my mom, sitting her down in the chair, and then just giving her a tour of my world, like here are my cows, here are my sheep. And it was great, right? I was a little kid. It was a lot of fun. Recently, they remade like these Harvest Moon games. And on the screen now, it asks, are you male, female, or non-binary? and it's disgusting. This is a game designed for kids, and you're promoting this type of thing. You can also like engage in homosexual relationships in the game, so it's also promoting that. And I agree, like, it's upsetting, but by making a bunch of videos on it, it ultimately wouldn't change anything. And I don't think not engaging means that we support this thing or agree with it, but just that it's not a good use of our time. It doesn't mean we tolerate it, but you're at a carnival playing a rigged game, and the only way to win a rigged game is to not engage with it. So you have to not engage with it.
Just don't look, just don't look.
I also think it's just kind of a waste of time to like do debates as well. Like, what am I getting out of like talking to a leftist who thinks that it's okay to like mutilate a child in gender reassignment surgery? That's such a nice fucking euphemism. That's such a faggot, cowardly term. Gender reassignment surgery. It's permanent mutilation. It's fucking horrific. There's no negotiation with these people. We're way past the point of debate. Debates between like Christians or atheists, you're wasting your fucking time. Or like arguing with someone, is the earth flat? You don't gain anything by it. I think we're kind of past this point, right? Like, if people come over to this side of things, like, great, cool, welcome. I think there is value in like good faith debates, which will probably happen in real life and not online. But an online debate, I think, is just to rile up pay pigs from the right wing or the left wing, right? And that's all it does. It's not really trying to convince anyone. Like, I don't know, if you were religious and like a guy who wasn't came up to you and wanted to learn more about your faith, you'd probably take that at face value if you knew that person, and like you could have an open and honest discussion with them. But online, it's just like a waste of time. Like, there's no point sitting around like, X is woke, X is not woke, or it is woke, and that's a good thing. Like, it doesn't fucking matter. And a lot of these leftists don't believe in just standard concepts like truth or beauty, except that diversity and gays are always good and have always been good. That's always true for them. That's basically it. I think just pandering to this safe, non-confrontational, middle-of-the-road approach isn't going to do anything. These go woke, go broke videos are fucking stupid and a waste of time, and it doesn't accomplish anything. I do think not hate buying or playing these things is good, and that's definitely a step in the right direction, but go woke, go broke isn't going to work. These companies aren't going away. They're not going to have a strong ideological shift, right? That's not happening. Ultimately, I think we need to create and promote our own culture and just completely disengage with the left wing. There's no ground to be gained there, I don't think. I mostly do book reviews on this channel. Those are my troth critique videos where I talk about books. I don't do a ton of video game content. The gameplay in the background is from a demo called Ramek. Ramek is a character in this Aegean sci-fi anthology series that I've read and reviewed on this channel. It's made by good people. So if that looks interesting, I have a link to it below, but you can wishlist the game on Steam. It's supposed to come out in like Q1 2025, and I think if enough people wishlist it, it helps it get like seen by more people. So if it looks interesting, you can check it out. I am playing through some older games. I do like doing like checking out indie games that are coming out now, but also like some older classic games that I never played growing up. Like, I am almost done with Deus Ex, so there's not going to be any gameplay for that video. There'll be a funny story with that. It's not that funny. I just couldn't get it to work. But I will be talking about that game in a video that's hopefully out at the same time this video is out or soon thereafter. But I have other like classic games that I'm going to be playing. Like, I think Vampire Masquerade, I've heard that's good, so I kind of want to do that. Or maybe the other Deus Ex games, maybe those are good. So if you want to hear me discuss some like indie books and like that, you can check out those Troth reviews. 2 books that I really recommend from the latest Troth video I did are United States of Death. This is set in a future dystopian America where there's this asteroid hack and it's heading towards the Earth. This man is framed and there's this huge conspiracy going on, and we have some cultists and stuff, and it's very good. And we also have The Living Hypnotic Death, which is an anthology, and it's a collection of short stories and then essays. I really liked it. If you kind of like pulp stories, I think you'll enjoy it. The essays are emotional and hard-hitting. I really enjoyed both, but there are other titles as well that I enjoyed. Anyways, hopefully some of this worked. Hopefully some of this was kind of articulate and I could get some of my grievances out there. But yeah, I just don't think Gamergate 2 can really do anything, and it won't do anything. Like, none of these Go Woke, Go Broke videos have ever fucking done anything, and they never will because they can't. Anyways, that's it. Thanks for watching. White Pill Media out.